You're listening to the Screenmen Society Podcast, where nothing on screen will ever go unseen. Here's your host, Jack Clayton.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever episode of the Screenmen Society Podcast with a camera. Woohoo! This is pretty exciting. This isn't the ideal setup that I wanted to have for this episode, but we're making do with what we got, as we normally do. And that's the whole thing, is we are here with a camera. That's what this whole build-up this week has been to. If you haven't seen on social media, every day we've been putting out a few episodes of the podcast on our YouTube channel, all leading up to this big, spectacular moment where our first ever episode with a camera is finally happening. And I've wanted this for a while, and the fact that it's finally happening, I think is really exciting.
Yeah,
It'd be really cool.
It's pretty neat.
It is pretty neat. So let's go ahead and get into who we've got with us today. First of all, he's our chief analyst for the Society of Screenmen. It's Abel Velasquez.
How's it going, everybody? Finally interesting to see. People get to see us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't do any more of your weird stuff around here, especially you.
Oh, man.
I can't come in naked anymore. I was doing that for a long time. Like, Kevin would sit there and he just
But
like,
now you,
awkwardly have to look
when
at
we
me
have the
naked.
next Pokemon movie, you can finally come in full Pokemon gear.
Oh my gosh, I can finally come wearing my fursuit. Bruh. My fursona is a silverback gorilla.
And right next to me, our game consultant, John Spurgeon.
Yeet.
Once again, just hitting us with those one-word lines and
Epic.
not getting anywhere else. But yeah, this is our third episode of what we have dubbed Free Talk Friday, even though this is coming out on a Monday, but we're recording it on a Friday, so it still counts. And that basically just means we're going to sit around, we're going to talk about whatever we want to talk about that we've had thoughts about during the week. We have no real topics. We obviously have stuff that we want to discuss that we've maybe talked about beforehand, like before recording and whatnot. But basically, I have no outline or anything for this episode, so we're just going to talk for an hour or so and see where we get at the end of the episode. It got pretty weird the last one. I think it was the exact same three that we had for the last one. So it'll be interesting to see what we talk about this time. So
Oh, for the free talk
Yeah,
one.
you were here.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Before we start that, though, I do want to tell you that you should definitely check out our new video on our Screaming YouTube channel. It's a man-on-the-street type video where we walk around and ask people if it's a Batman villain or a Spider-Man villain, but it's really obscure villains, and no one knows what they are. So it's really entertaining, so you should definitely go check that out.
I haven't seen it. Is it up now?
It should be up by the time this episode is up.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
why I haven't seen it.
Exactly.
I was like, I don't know what this is.
But yeah. Then you can also check out a video on my personal YouTube channel, JClay, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in this actual podcast, but we'll get into that later. So let's go ahead and just start. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about the most leading up to this week? I know there's a few things that there was, but what do you guys want to start off with?
Obviously, there's a Spider-Man thing, which I think we just have
Yep.
to get out of the way.
Sure.
Because that's like, our subject matter kind of thing.
We
Mhm.
did talk a lot this week in our group chat about should we make this a full episode or should this just be something we touch on?
Mhm.
And
I mean, it's not worth talking about for more than 2 minutes.
yeah, exactly, because everything that can be said has been said about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of developments that keep happening, so it's
Mhm.
just weird. And so there's a lot of people I've seen, especially, that are like, "Oh man, this is all Sony's fault."
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
it's I think the more and more that stuff has come out,
Yeah.
it's not.
It's
Sony's
clearly
fault.
Disney.
It's clearly Disney.
It's like
And
this,
it's like, why are people so adamant to hate on Sony right now? Because, let's just look at the past of Disney, strong-arming every company.
Yeah.
Disney is a powerhouse, a monopoly, and you should treat Disney like you treat McDonald's. We don't say, when a restaurant gets taken out by McDonald's, we don't say, oh, that restaurant, they were, a local restaurant.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that restaurant's in the
they
fault.
made
shouldn't-
trash.
Yeah, they shouldn't have tried to
so
fight
they don't
McDonald's.
deserve to have good things.
Yeah. Yeah, their tacos tasted bad, even though,
Wait, McDonald's had tacos?
No, I'm saying
Oh.
a restaurant.
A
So
local
So
restaurant.
that's why I go to McDonald's.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. It's a big company. It's a big corporation. Let's stop acting like they're so, defenseless.
Literally.
the
We're
thing-
acting like Disney is the little guy.
Yeah.
The biggest company in the
Oh,
world.
Disney
No,
needs
no. What
more.
it has been is
Yeah.
everyone saying, "Oh, Sony stole it from Disney. Oh, it's all their fault. They think they can do better. Disney's done all the work, and they're just like, oh, we could do it." When really, it's just Disney acting like they are bigger than they actually
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
and saying, "Hey, we want
Like,
more money."
The thing about it is that I feel like people aren't understanding. Like, the deal
That's the
that's
thing, yeah.
currently in place is already not benefiting Sony really at all.
Right.
Like, at all. Like, the only thing that Sony gets is box office revenue. Literally is the only thing that they get. They don't have creative control. They still have to finance the whole movie. They still have to, like, Disney earns everything on merchandise, which technically isn't a part of the contract, but because Sony sold those rights back to Marvel, they have full merchandise over Spider-Man and everything else. So, like, Sony's only pocket for the deal is that they get box office revenue, and not even for movies like Avengers and things where he makes cameos in. It's just his solo films.
Yeah.
So, like, Homecoming made roughly $600 million, so
Something like
it made
that.
fine money. Far From Home did better. It crossed $1 billion, which is
Mhm.
great. It's the
is
only
why-
Spider-Man movie that
Which
made
is why they were saying, "Hey, we want more,"
Right.
Because they saw how much money. But Sony also saw that there's
Yeah.
a lot of money come out of it too.
Yeah.
And the chairman of Sony is also not the most trusted individual when it comes to superhero movies.
Oh, yeah.
His name is like Tim Rothman or something like
Mhm.
that. He was in charge of sewing Deadpool's mouth shut in X-Men Origins Wolverine. He's been in charge of a lot of your least favorite superhero movies, or just bad superhero
Sure.
movies. And so it is a little bit risky there because there
Yeah.
are 2 more movies that Tom Holland is contractually obliged to, but none of them can mention Endgame, Infinity War, Far From Home,
Correct.
Tony Stark, the Avengers at all. I don't even know if they can mention Mysterio, just because he had a lot of
Ooh, yeah.
motivation from Tony Stark.
So here's the thing. I think it's crazy. For me, it's unfathomable that they make a deal, and it's not. I don't think it'll be Sony. Because I think Sony's like, fuck it. Like, I think they would be more inclined.
Wow, that was a
Sorry.
sword.
And so, like, they would be like, you know what? We're not gonna get stronghold about it. So, like, we've made movies and like, I'm the last person to defend Sony over Spider-Man. Like, I'm the biggest Spider-Man fan.
Right.
So
Yeah.
for me, I would still argue they made the best Spider-Man movie. You might disagree
I
with
would
that.
disagree with that.
I
I would
still think
disagree as
Spider-Man
well.
2 is the best
Spider-Man 2
movie.
is definitely top tier, but in my opinion, nothing beats Far From Home.
Dude, Far From Home is so underrated, and everybody
Mhm.
I
I don't
see
even
on-
think it's
I
underrated.
hate
Yeah.
people on Twitter saying Far From Home is the worst superhero movie of the year.
Well, yeah, you're
what are
looking.
you talking about?
You're looking at Stan Twitter, and that's something we can talk about here in a second
Oh
about how
my
Stan
Stan Twitter's
Twitter's
not good.
Stan Twitter is the worst. But yeah, let's finish this up real
Okay.
quick.
But yeah, so like the whole thing is like, yeah, and obviously Sony, like, that's back in the day, right? We were talking recently. Their
Yeah.
recent record isn't good.
sure.
But, and so I don't want to be like, oh, Sony could definitely do a better job. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, like, in terms of a market, right? We talked about this before when the Fox and Sony merger happened. We were talking about how if Disney has a stronghold in the industry, then all movies are just going to filter through Disney. And
Yeah.
all the movies are
Yeah.
just going to be the same thing, but just through Disney.
And that's part of why that Sony didn't take that deal is
Mhm.
because they're one of the last few who isn't.
Bro, they're literally one of like the big 3.
And
that
then
haven't
it's not
bent
just
over.
Disney wants Spider-Man, but Disney wants more Spider-Man characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's not just, oh, just give us more Tom Holland. It's like, oh, but we want like these other characters too, which in turn makes it harder for Sony to make any other Spider-Man movies if they're not having those characters in it. So that's where this conflict is really going to come. But I think, again, in my perspective, Disney has way more to lose if they lose Spider-Man. Like, I feel like this is a bluff if they're like, we don't need Spider-Man. Like, no. They built such an importance on
Bro,
Spider-Man
the
moving
MCU
forward.
The MCU is literally right now
Yeah.
based around
Yeah,
the next film. Spider-Man is the next leader
Yeah.
of the Avengers.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
like he's the big.
Or he's
guy
being
right now.
groomed to do
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
I don't think
Um,
well, okay, so Spider-Man's never really been a leader of the Avengers.
Sure.
So
But, like, he's the-
been at the forefront of
Yeah.
Marvel, sure, but he's never
Mm.
been a leader of the Avengers. That'll probably go to Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, or Black Panther.
Fair enough.
But I would agree that like he is the forefront of the next set
Right.
of the next series of the MCU. Like
Mhm.
Iron Man wasn't the leader of the Avengers, but he was the forefront of the MCU
They're
for the
n-
Infinity Saga.
I would say Iron Man was the leader of the Avengers.
Oh no, it was
whether we
100%
I mean,
Captain America.
I mean, kind of, but like Iron Man was the guy that
He was at the
everybody looked
forefront.
to for
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And that's what I'm feeling. That's what Spider-Man will be. He won't be the leader, but he'll be the one that everyone looks.
They aren't grooming Captain Marvel for anything.
Well,
like
we don't know that.
Every
yet.
movie they make, they're like, yeah, Captain Marvel's off doing something else. So Captain
we've only
Marvel's a
seen her-
character that
we've
we're
only
not going
seen
to see
her in
very
one.
much.
I don't know about that. We've only seen her in one team-up movie and one solo movie.
She's always too busy. Like we're always hearing, oh yeah, she's too busy. That's why she's kind of a lame character. A character that can't be there for like a lot of fights. I mean,
I do
we're gonna have to look at
think
Spider-Man, I
they
think.
haven't done a lot with her, but I feel like that'll obviously change considering the more crop of characters that they're going to build.
you think?
And yeah, because I think because they're obviously going more space, like they're introducing the Eternals in there, and I think that those elements will cater for Captain Marvel's more involvement.
yeah.
And I think in the next phase, you see a lot of crossovers. So like Scarlet Witch being with Doctor Strange, Thor possibly being with Guardians. So like there's a lot of these crossover movies where like these characters are gonna have a lot more time crossing with each other.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked if Captain Marvel appeared in another movie.
Yeah.
And she would benefit by doing so. I
Yeah.
think exactly what you mean. I think the problem is like Captain Marvel's movie was literally kind of placed in there.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the problem is like she didn't have this organic introduction that other characters did. It was more of a matter of like, oh man, we have Captain Marvel, so we have to like fit her in here. And so I think the more she's exposed to more characters, I think it'll give her more shade to
Fair.
grow.
Definitely.
Mhm.
So yeah, just to wrap this up, there's not much else to say.
Mhm.
I think if I had to pick one who is more on the right, I'd
Mhm.
probably go with Sony, just
Mhm.
because they already are. Disney already has enough S's. They have, I think, a majority of the top 10 grossing movies this year alone.
Yeah.
In all three Marvel movies, Toy Story 4,
I think all the top
And-
5 are
and
Disney
Lion King,
movies.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Lion
think they're
King.
all.
So they have half of the top grossing movies, possibly more. So I wouldn't be. It doesn't surprise me that Sony wants a little bit more.
Of that
Profit and revenue. That makes more sense to me.
I do want to also say that we are forgetting about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Part of the reason they probably kept a lot of those characters, and
Was for that.
part of the reason that we're seeing the move to Miles Morales over there is because they are probably getting ready to just completely ditch the Peter Parker and just hold on to Miles Morales.
Maybe.
Like,
So 5, which they're wanting.
yeah,
Miles Morales is the future.
yeah.
But
because, I mean,
5 of the top
Yeah.
10 are Disney.
Was that right? The
movies.
3 Marvel movies.
So yeah,
Lion
so
King and Toy Story?
Endgame, Lion King, Captain Marvel, Toy Story, and Aladdin. Technically,
Oh,
Far From
Aladdin.
Home is still Sony's.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah,
I
I
don't.
didn't realize Aladdin was in that list.
I don't think Miles Morales is the future of Spider-Man.
Well,
'cause
he-
technically, it's the least grossing Spider-Man movie, which is a disaster. Like
I would-
that's-
It is, but at the same time, it did make a lot of money. So, but yeah. With that said, no, I don't see Disney and
Okay.
Marvel giving up the fight quite yet. I wouldn't. This is far from over because when Civil War happened, both the Russos and
Yeah.
Kevin Feige made it very clear that they couldn't do Civil War without Spider-Man. And I think
Mhm.
that Kevin Feige moving forward is going to be like, we can't do the MCU without Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It may be a while before that actually happens, but
That's why I think Disney will eventually make the deal because they'll
Yeah.
realize like they need it to
They're gonna
happen.
they'll have
They
to
were
play ball.
banking on like social media pressure to make Sony
Yeah.
cave, but like
Yeah.
Sony's not gonna cave to. You
No.
think Sony cares what
Sony's
people
some off
think? Like
Japanese
Sony, Sony has made so many bad movies, and people have
Yeah.
shredded them for him, and they still make
They
those
made
movies.
The Emoji Movie.
Yeah, they still make
did.
movies.
The same
Like-
studio that made the Emoji Movie made Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I
That's
want to
true.
remind
Yeah,
everyone
that's
who's
crazy.
alive right
That's
now.
why I was shocked.
That is true.
That it's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Um,
but yeah, we covered it. We did what we had to do with
Mhm.
it. I think it was important that we talked about it just because it's probably the most important
Yeah.
film news
Yes.
that happens.
Obviously,
this
if
year.
updates come through, we'll talk about that.
Oh,
later,
100%,
but,
yeah. But yeah, I do want to talk about Stan Twitter because, my goodness, Stan Twitter is the worst because Stans, at least Marvel Stans, have no clue what they're
What's
talking
a
about.
stan?
A Stan
He's like a super fan.
but they're all like 15-year-old
Yeah.
girls who know.
They're all like 15-year-old.
They're all 15-year-old
Everybody I've
girls.
seen's like a 30-year-old man. He's like, Shazam was the best superhero movie, and Spider-Man was the worst.
No, like Marvel Stans are all 15-year-old girls who think that Cap and Bucky need to be making out every time they're on screen. That's basically what a Stan
I'd be
is.
hot. I mean, I'm down.
But yeah, they were especially bad with Endgame. They called the Russos the worst directors ever because of decisions made, like Thor being the character that he was, Iron Man dying.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers if you haven't seen Endgame.
If you haven't seen Endgame, what do you do? Like, literally, get out of here. You're watching an hour-long podcast when you could be watching Endgame.
That's true. Yeah,
but also watch this podcast, finish
Please
the
watch the
podcast, and then
podcast.
go watch the movie.
Yeah, but yeah, the stands are just the worst because they have this insane amount of following, but they have zero brain cells, and so their dumb takes just always find your way to your feed. At least in my case, because I follow a lot of film stuff on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I always have some sort of dumb Stan take in my feed, whether it be from Marvel, Spider-Man, DC, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, all of that, and they're all so stupid. They're like the ones where they have the AVI with like a fictional character, and it's like so and so saw Far From Home X2, which means times 2. If you guys didn't know, I found that out.
What does X2 mean? Stop typing X2.
How
I don't
dare
understand.
you? What is this?
They're all the same. They all have the same dumb take on everything, and it's just annoying. I don't know if you guys have ever.
I only get them in my feed when Jack replies to them because I only follow gaming news and then my friends. And literally no one ever posts about it except for Jack. And I'll just see Jack reply, blah, 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 you're an idiot.
Well, I had done
or
that.
Jack, like, retweeting someone who basically, like, said you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And
well,
so I get those in my feed all the time because of Jack. Thank you, Jack. Very cool.
You're welcome. Well, I've been doing that a lot lately because there's been a lot of people who have been going at my boy PewDiePie, who got married this week. Congratulations, PewDiePie. I want to say congratulations.
Can we get a congratulations in chat? If you
Hey,
don't type it right
congratulations.
now,
It's your
don't type-
celebration.
Hey.
if you don't type congratulations right now, you're going to be cursed with the power of the Three Kings.
If you know, you
don't
know.
want that.
If you know, you know. But yeah, PewDiePie, we have the same birthday, so hit me up on my birthday, man. But yeah, so anyway, this week he got married, and a lot of people have been like, the same argument has always been that he's a racist.
Yeah.
And I've followed him for a long time. I have followed him. I followed PewDiePie for a long time. He's probably my favorite YouTuber, and I can without a doubt say that he's not a racist. He's made mistakes.
Big mistakes.
Big mistakes, but he's grown from them. He's learned from them. He's gone.
There's
from
no
that,
perfect
so.
YouTuber.
Exactly.
Everybody has their.
Well. So the point is, sometimes you just got to put a dumb Stan in their place, and that's that.
Sometimes you just got to smack a dumb Stan right in his little face.
I think part of it is like that idea of being like a super fan about stuff.
Yeah.
Like you can be really passionate about stuff, but I think there's a line where you're so in that thing that it's like sort of a bias that you have, where like if anything negative happens, you're like, fuck this, you know, you're like, oh man, how dare
Frick this.
Frick
this.
Frick.
We need to do a bunch of Abel Frick sound bites at the end so Jack can just throw them over.
Nah, it's good.
Frick.
You just censor it, it's fine. But like, you know, it's that thing where you're just mad for getting upset, which is fine. Like there are things that are happening to big franchises that you don't just you disagree with, and that's fine to voice those opinions, but you can't make that the thing that everybody thinks about. I saw like a tweet earlier yesterday where they were talking about there was this girl hating on like Potter fans or whatever, and she was like, you guys are idiots and should read other books or something like that. And I was like, you know, and like, yeah, there were some people that obviously were young people that love Harry Potter, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Like it's a great series, but you know, she was all like, man, these people are just obsessed and they're dumb, and like she was saying how they, you know, oh, these are people that haven't been bullied enough and stuff like that. And I was like, why did you have to have that person out? Like
anybody who says that is somebody who hasn't been bullied enough.
Yeah, literally. You're like, yeah, I'm tough now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now that I don't like Harry Potter, I'm so tough.
Yeah, I'm a valid human
outta
being.
here,
Like
dude.
it's lame. And so like,
lame.
you know, have passions for things. Obviously, you know where that line is, where you're just being mad about everything. Like maybe be open to changes, but you know, if there's a fine line between being overly something, whether it be overly positive or negative.
And
I
respect
think.
other people's stuff, man. Like everybody likes their own stuff. Like
Yeah.
I hate horror films, but I respect the fact that people think they're good. Like I just don't like, I don't like getting freaked out during a movie. It's just
Fair
not
enough.
my thing. But like people love them, and it's like I respect that they're good films.
Do
like
you
A
like?
Quiet Place is a great film, but it's not something that I would enjoy.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
You should check it out.
I
I think it's not horror.
Yeah.
Technically,
I just don't like creepy movies in general. Like
it's
I
really
don't know.
good.
I
though.
spend more time.
It's
on
super
aesthetics.
suspenseful. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Like if you ever seen Alien, Alien's not a horror movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen Alien either.
You
I
should-
haven't seen Alien.
that.
I
You
haven't
should
seen
see
Predator.
that
Yeah.
because the visuals and like the atmosphere
It's all
is
practical.
so good. It's
But yeah, so basically with this, there's a lot of toxicity on Twitter, especially with film. So just stay away from it. Be positive. Watch The Boys on Amazon.
I would say there's less with video games. Like I don't see like I'm in the game community big time. Like I'm on Twitter a lot with the game community.
oh yeah.
And it just doesn't seem very toxic in the game community. Like most people are like, and even other developers support other developers. Like I don't see
Yeah.
like with Marvel and Sony and all these big movie companies. They're such big entities that they're
Yeah.
like, we hate you. We
Yeah.
hate you. Don't watch these movies. Just watch Marvel.
Right.
Like these big companies are so fighty. Like they're like really mean high school girls who hated each other. You know,
Right.
like when you're just sitting there watching and they're like, and you're like, stop, please
Stop
stop.
being-
We don't want you to
yeah.
fight.
Yeah.
But it's like not high school girls, high school
Right.
guys too. Like
Yeah.
all of
Oh, yeah.
us, all of
Yeah.
us. Me and
Yeah,
Jay
but they
Clay.
swing.
Me and Jay Clay.
We didn't go to high school, though.
We didn't go to high school.
You just rammed our boat.
You just rammed
I just rammed our boat, and then me and Jay Clay got in a fight.
Yeah, but then after
Fist
that,
fight on the boat. Let's go.
after that, they didn't put us in a boat together. So,
Yeah, and Coach Cup had to spend a long time fixing that boat, so that was good news for me.
well, he wasted his money on a bunch of other boats.
All right, long story short.
Long story
Yeah.
short, yeah. That does bring me to my next thing, though. I wanted to ask you guys. I wanted to do a thing where, like, we talk about what have we been watching lately, what have we been playing lately. Just because it's been a while since I've seen you two, at least. I don't think you were on last week, and you've been gone since our comeback episode. So I just want to catch up with you guys. What have you been watching? What have you been playing?
Well, recently, today and yesterday, not today, I guess just yesterday, and probably once I get done with my meetings after this, I've been playing the Modern Warfare Alpha, the 2v2 mode, which is free for everyone who owns a PlayStation, no matter if you have PlayStation Plus or anything. At the time this episode comes out, it's already going to be over, so, I mean.
Sorry.
But you two should get on it, because
Okay.
it's free, it's 2v2, it's freaking epic. I'm super excited.
We're not friends on PlayStation. I
Okay,
don't
well,
think.
we can friend. I
We
mean,
are.
we can still play it without
Yeah.
me. It's not like we
Okay.
have to play
We
it.
play
Me
Apex
and Jay
all the time.
we played Apex like twice.
That's not true. We played it a bunch.
But I've been playing Modern Warfare. I love this alpha. Like
Mhm.
this 2v2 mode is great. This is the best Call of Duty. In my opinion, this is the best Call of Duty since Call of Duty Black Ops 1, which has been 10 years.
That was like middle school.
It's been a
Decade.
while. Like I think this is probably the best Call of Duty we're gonna have seen, maybe ever. Like I
Wow.
think there's
Did
a
you-
32v32 mode and there's a 2v2 mode. So the fact that they're going so big scale and so small scale, and the campaign is going to be very realistic, very hardcore, very it's gonna go for emotion. And I'm ready for a Call of Duty campaign to make me feel something very deep again.
Finally.
Like I want this again because it's been since the first 3 since I've really felt something when playing a Call. I love feeling that just utterly gut-wrenching war emotion, like a war movie, like Saving Private Ryan, that just sad but also very impactful emotion. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
very excited for this game.
Yeah.
And I will give a full review on it on the website. I'll
We
write a full article.
We do
Great.
need to do more gaming reviews
We
on the
do need
website,
to
so
do
that'd be really great.
And then I've also been playing CSGO because I never stopped playing CSGO.
All right, Abel.
So I've been playing Fire Emblem recently.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah. So if you ever played Smash Brothers,
I have. I'm not very good at it.
He's an S main. He doesn't
No.
know how to up A,
Oh,
up B.
hey, we'll do it in
Yeah.
a second. We'll do it in a second.
Uh-huh.
Anyway.
But all of those people with like swords and stuff,
Sure.
those are from Fire Emblem, which is a
Okay.
Japanese, more focused game.
Okay.
So it gained popularity because Marth was the first Fire Emblem character introduced in Melee back in the day.
Okay.
And since his introduction, a lot of people, because back then that game wasn't in US at all.
Yeah,
it was,
didn't even know about it.
and so, but because people were like, this character's really cool, what game is there from? And it made Nintendo be like, should we make games or import it to the US? And so they decided to pour Fire Emblem games into the US, and that expanded like the library. And over the years, it's becoming a more popular franchise because it's a part of that JRPG style game. And I haven't really played any of the past Fire Emblem games. I'm not a huge I don't know the franchise that much.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of buzz coming into this game in particular because a lot of people it is critically revered. Like everybody is like, this game is amazing. It's one of the best for the Switch. Like story wise, character wise, from a design aspect, the battle mechanic. Because from a person that hasn't played that series, and I know how different it was, I was imagining it being like a Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts type style game.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that would be really interesting. But playing it feels so. This game, like Final Fantasy, is like a split of different stories. So each game in itself is a different story from whatever. Like they might be connected through stories and stuff, like history, like, oh, back then there was this hero and blah 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 blah. But each one is its own story. Like there's no, oh, if you need to play this game to understand this game, like that's not what at least this game is. And so imagine it like this. Imagine it like a mix of like Harry Potter mixed with like a strategy type game. So you become like a professor at this like academy kind of, and it's technically referred to as the Garreg Mach Monastery because in the game, this country called Fodenland is split into 3 different regions. There's the Empire, the Kingdom, and the Alliance, and there are 3 distinct regions with different characters. And the school habits all 3 of these regions together.
Okay.
And so in the game, you become a professor at the academy, and you get to assign yourself with one of the 3 houses. Which represents one of the 3 regions. And so in the game, you work to level up these characters. But in doing so, depending on what house you choose, the storyline is determined by, your relationships, the development of your characters, and the story kind of unfolds based on what house you do. So it's really innately based on kind of the characters, relationships you want to invest in, but just because you choose a house doesn't mean you're stuck with just those characters. You can recruit characters from other houses that you like into your house as well. And so there's this very complex story. You can invest people in like archer, like as an archer or a knight or a warlock or a bunch of different classes that you have. And it's a very fun game. So if you've ever played Stratego, kind of that old board, kind of like chess game style, where you can put your characters and you can have them battle against other characters. It's a very distinct, different battle style. And for a person like me that loves like games that involve a lot of thinking, so I'm huge into any type of mental games, having to think in like as a strategy. And so like it just so many different things that I really like because the story is actually really good. Like I don't want to spoil it for obvious reasons because there's huge things that happen in the story very quickly, but there's a lot of things that happen that are like very like surprising, I guess. And so but the characters are really good, and there's a lot of different type of ways that make the game really good, and so it's been really fun. And I'm obsessed.
Where can anyone find this game now that you've explained it to us?
So it's on the Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
So it's the second console game from Fire Emblem. Usually it's a mobile, so they usually do on 3DS and the old Nintendo DS and Game Boy. But they made this one for the Switch, kind of like Pokemon did. They made the jump to a console version of it. And it's really good. It plays really well. On TV, or I've been playing it on the portable mode too, and it looks just as good. And it's really fun. Like I know like I might not sell it as big, but like it is really fun. Like you actually do become really absorbed. Jordan, who is a fellow Screenman, like we messaged each other because he got the game the day after I did, and he was like, "What house did you get?" And I'm in the Blue Lions. I think it's the best house. And he was like, "Dude, I also got into the Blue Lions." So there was that, and I was like, "Dude, I'm going to tell you now, like, you're going to get super invested. Like, I haven't put down the game since I've started playing." And he was like, "Oh, I know. Like, since I got it, I haven't stopped playing." And so it's actually a really, really good game. It makes you feel like I haven't felt that way of a game where I've just been so invested and I really, really want to play. And there's over 80 hours of the game. Like, there are so many things to do. And you can invest your time in however you want. And it's a really awesome game. And
yeah, I get really invested every time I play Stardew Valley. I just get crazy into it, like too into it. Like you know, in that game you do certain things to get a wife, and so I don't know why, but I always pick Penny. Like me and my friends, we're all Penny people, and we have like if you pick someone else, you're a nerd. I think I picked Penny because she's the easiest to get because like all the other ones require like gemstones or like expensive stuff, and you have to give it to them every 2 weeks. But with Penny, you can just give her an apricot, or not an apricot. You can give her a melon, and a melon is good enough. So I just grow melons, and I give her one of my melons. And I don't know. I get really invested in that game though. I love building a crop. I love building like a farm and making it feel like mine. Seeing over it,
it's like very
going
relaxed.
into town, selling stuff. Fishing. I don't know. It's just a relaxing game.
Did you ever play Animal Crossing?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
They're making a new one.
I know. I don't have money for it, and Cyberpunk comes out at the same time, so I wouldn't have time anyway.
There's so many
Cyberpunk.
games.
It's got Keanu Reeves.
I'm going to be like dumping all of my free time this spring into Cyberpunk. Like I will be playing that game. I want to put my goal.
I thought it didn't come out till next year.
No, it comes out spring 2020.
Okay, yeah.
I want to put around 200 hours into Cyberpunk when it's all said and done. So we're gonna see how that goes because that's a lot of hours. But I feel like that game might have the potential for me to throw 200 hours into it. We'll see.
Any game can do that.
Except for Fortnite.
Yeah, that's true. So for mine, I'm not gonna go with a game. I'm gonna go with a show that I've been watching.
The Boys.
The Boys. I haven't shut up about it.
No.
If you follow me on Twitter at TheOnlyJClay, I talk about The Boys all the time.
This is.
All right. So The Boys is kind of like I'll go with Hellboy in the sense that it's a comic series, but it's not Marvel and DC. It's its own thing. And the best way to explain it is it's the Justice League if they were all complete douchebags. The premise is superheroes are a real thing in this world, and they are completely monetizable. They've got movies, they've got video games, they've got action figures and stuff, all based off of them. But they're actual superheroes in this world, and they're all like managed by this company called Vought. And basically, it turns out that superheroes are not as good of people as they may seem on the surface. And this show goes into how they are all really bad people at the end of it, minus one of them. And then you've got Carl Urban and his group of people who are like trying to like take down these guys, but they're all just normal people. So it's kind of interesting to see how it all plays out in there. But it's really interesting to see like opposite versions of all these like famous characters that we know. Like the main hero, he's like what Zack Snyder visionized for Superman. He's like the complete opposite of Superman. When he's not like around people, like he's straight up killing people left and right. Contain your excitement, please, John.
Super villains? They're like bad guys who are super heroes, but they're bad guys. They're super villains.
But yeah,
my God.
Can a superhero be a bad person but
well,
still be a hero?
As Harvey Dent once said, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Nixon. Richard Nixon, 2020. Vote Nixon 2020.
But anyway.
He's still alive.
Anyway,
yeah.
I watched the first episode with my family, which was a terrible idea. And I wasn't sure the first time I watched it, but then I rewatched it with my boy Jacob Cleespy. Shout out to you, bud. We'll get you on the podcast someday.
No.
We rewatched it because I wanted to introduce.
No.
we rewatched it because I wanted to introduce it to him. And the second time around, once I knew what to expect, I enjoyed it a lot more because it's definitely a show you don't know what you're going to expect. Like the first 5 minutes alone are you won't expect what's happening.
Is Ben Shapiro in it?
Ben Shapiro is not.
Hi, I'm Ben Shapiro, and I'm here to tell you to watch The Boys.
Oh my god! What?
Can you imagine, like at the beginning of some show, Ben Shapiro just walks out onto a stage.
What?
Hello, my name is Ben Shapiro, and I'm here to tell you to watch The Boys. Oh wait, you're watching it. Never mind.
But I think it's just got clever writing. It's got really good acting from almost everyone who's a part of it. There are a few storylines that I wasn't a big fan of, just because I didn't feel like they were as entertaining as some of the other ones are. But yeah.
So is it separate contained stories?
Yes and no. They all kind of like conjoin towards the end of the season, but everything leads up to each other regardless. And yeah, it's got Carl Urban in it, who says the C word a lot.
Crap.
Yes.
My mom says I can't say the C word.
Your mom's a very good person.
I just
Yeah.
said it on this show.
Oh,
Oh
no.
gosh.
She's gonna be real mad.
I'm gonna get grounded.
Oh,
No
but-
more Xbox 360.
But yeah, if you have Amazon Video, I would definitely recommend checking out The Boys. It's a really solid show, and I can't wait for season 2.
On Amazon Video,
Yes.
so
So, like-
Prime is necessary.
Yeah, essentially. It's the same place where you can find Man in the High Castle, which is also a really phenomenal show.
Fun
I heard-
fact: if you're a student, you get Amazon Prime for $6. Check
so,
it out.
Yeah.
I've
So,
heard
yeah.
Amazon Prime sucks though. Like the shows.
Not necessarily. 'Cause you
No.
get stuff in like 2
No.
days.
Yeah.
no, the
it's
shows, not their shows.
Oh.
I like the shipping.
No,
Fair
because now it's got The Boys and Man in the High Castle, which is.
Don't
like
they
a-
have the superhero other one, the Tick guy?
Oh yeah, the Tick. I never watched that though.
We just
No.
all share
People
my
say that's
mom's
good.
account. So
No, I share my grandma's.
Uh,
But yeah, so it's good to see what you guys have been playing and watching. I do want to get into this next thing though. It's been something I wanted to talk about all week. I recently figured out that on our website, www.thesocietyofscreamin.com, we have a comment section.
We do.
So whenever I say comment, they have to now.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Can I get an F in
Comment.
chat?
But yeah, I never expected us to really get any comments on anything. We have gotten a few.
There are
nice
some
ones.
spam ones.
There are a lot of spam ones, which is what I'm gonna get to in a second.
Yeah.
But I also want to say that we have had a few nice comments.
Oh yeah.
Like there was one where they asked if we could post on, if she could put our stuff on like
Mhm.
her Twitter group, and I responded to it late. I was like,
You say no.
No.
No, you can't. You can't support us.
Oh,
Don't-
please
don't do it.
Don't do
Don't
it.
do it.
If you do, we will sue.
but yeah, there was this one comment which is clearly spam. That
Let me read.
it's-
I thought you typed this up, and I'm like, Jack, you are literally
No.
the worst writer I've ever seen.
No, this is something that someone wrote up 14 days ago.
Oh
This
yeah, the super long one.
Yes,
Dude.
I'm gonna read a
No,
link.
it's
This is
a real
I
comment.
thought this was a bunch of like
No.
one comments that Jack could put into a
No.
list.
This is
It's
this
a
is
real comment.
Wait, is it about us though?
No,
Yeah,
I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna
yeah.
get into it. This is on our
Yeah.
our CW satire one that I wrote. I'm gonna read it as best I can. Just
Please do
every-
it justice.
I will do it justice. Everyone else, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the reading. I've recently been web surfing around 3 hours right now, though Irv never observed any specific appealing write-up, much like your site. It's truly worth more than enough, I believe. Personally, whenever most of website as well as blog prepared fantastic content and articles when you have, the internet will always be much more valuable than ever. Appreciate it quite a bit for giving out this approach using many people and individual take into account exactly what you...
I'm just reading the part about Microsoft Zune.
We'll get to it. What you're giving a presentation nearly. Save to fave. Generously, moreover, check with my website means. You can easily have got a web link market transaction in our midst. Hey, this informative article was exciting, specifically since it was initially searching for what it really this specific topic last couple days.
Why is Jerome in the comments section? Our friend Jerome speaks like
It
this.
keeps it keeps going, but he's also
He's
from
Malaysian. To give him defense, he speaks Malaysian, but he sounds like that. Sounds like him.
I'm gonna do a little bit more. A Microsoft Zune works about getting a movable media channels participant, no internet browser, as opposed to a online game equipment. Most likely in the foreseeable future, it'll complete possibly even much better on the inside person's zones. Nevertheless, for at the moment, it's a great path to be prepared and learn about other tracks and films, and it is with no professional within just that aspect. That iPod gains tend to be their worldwide web searching for and purposes. Anytime individuals beneficial more strong, almost certainly it is your perfect taste. I personally have already been commenting to allows you to know what the fantastic innovation our cousin's little princess purchased making use of your web page. Your woman uncovered many components incorporating what precisely it's enjoy having a good aiding figure to allow some others with no trouble learn certain not possible subject areas.
I'm pretty sure they gave an Indian guy from tech support a phone and said, do text to speech.
Do anything you
Hold
want.
on.
We don't staff any female people.
You did more than a would like. Thank you for displaying these types of advantageous, trusted, explanatory, as well as entertainment recommendations on that field so that you can, Kate. Who's Kate? Are you?
I think he means advocate.
I don't even. Okay, so like I think I literally actually think that they gave, like how they have these Indian people in these big, communes who do these big just send outs of texts.
Correct.
So I'm like, they do it on YouTube too. Like I have it happen to me on my YouTube channel. I just delete them.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they gave him a phone and said, do text to speech on this, and he didn't read it. Like he just sent it.
He was reading it as he said it. Yeah.
Yeah, because like there's no way. Like obviously this was actually written, but it wasn't actually written. Like it's a comment that they send out to thousands of channels. But I do honestly think that somebody text to speech this.
Well, there's a lot more of it, and I'm actually going to be going over it separately in a video on my YouTube channel, JClay. That should be out by the time that this episode comes out, so you can check that. I'll leave a link in the description
All
below.
the comments or just that comment?
This one.
Oh, just that one.
Because this is...
Oh
you're
my
seeing me
gosh.
scroll. You're
Oh
seeing-
my gosh.
You're
I
seeing me
thought
scroll.
Super long.
I
It's
didn't realize.
super long.
Holy crap.
So yeah, I didn't want to read the entire thing in here, A, because I wanted to save it for my video, and B, it would have taken the whole
Does it
And there are a
ever-
lot of other comments.
Does it
that
ever
are
actually make
very
sense?
lovely.
It's like comments within comments. And now the one thing that I want to do real quick, though,
Do you think you
is
just like
there's-
compiled a bunch of comments?
I don't know, but there's a link. The name is a link, and I'm gonna put this up on screen in post. But I'm gonna search this link. I'm actually gonna.
Have you searched this before?
No, this is why I'm
Dude.
going. I'm going.
Oh, I've clicked on it.
Oh, I'm going incognito just in case. And I will put up what it
It's
is.
probably like porn.
It's not porn. It's
Yeah, Gadura. Yeah, I was right about it being an Indian guy. That's the good news. I was 100%
Yeah, it's crazy.
right.
Yeah, I know.
Bro,
I
I'm
looked
not-
up.
I'm
I
not
was
even a
like,
racist.
Goodness.
Can I get a fist bump for not being a racist?
I'll give you a fist
I was
bump.
right.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll put this on screen. You have to see this. Is
What the hell?
It's so weird. But yeah, I'm gonna be going over. I'm gonna be doing a separate video on this.
Tashi from tech support has too much time.
yeah,
really does.
literally.
He really.
But he's our
does.
biggest fan,
He's
and
our
we
big-
appreciate
he really
that.
is.
Let's look at the approved. I want to actually.
Oh,
see.
I've the rest of them I've approved.
I can
have been
see,
pretty
but
good.
I just don't want to.
No, there was the one I posted about this on
Belfast
Twitter.
MILF.
The
I posted about
MILF.
this on our social media.
Belfast MILF. I am a mother, and this helped me. Hello, I am a concerned mother, and this helped me. Why, as a mother, would you call yourself a Belfast MILF?
That's a great question.
At least she's open about it.
That's fair.
But yeah, that's probably the weird. So yeah, that comment was obviously like just a troll. But that other one was a spam comment, and I don't know if I'm gonna approve it just because I don't want people to like have to
Scroll
Goes-
through.
You should
Yeah.
totally approve that.
No,
No,
What was it even on? Which article?
it was on my CW confirms that you, the reader, will have a cameo in Crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna be going over. This is gonna be a long video, but
yeah.
please do check it out because I'm gonna be putting a lot of work into this. Clearly, so yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys so that you know that we are in fact reading your comments. Please keep posting them on both the website and here and wherever you can post comments. leave us a nice message on Twitter too.
Shoot
That'd be
Jack
nice.
a text. He always responds to personal text to his personal phone.
I'm not giving that out though.
Ask him for nudes.
Oh my gosh.
This is what you got to say. Hey, J. Clay, may I have the nudes? My name is, and then just like enter a random like chick's name.
Okay. Well,
You got to edit that out, bro.
I'm going to. All right. Well, is there anything else that you guys wanted to discuss before we wrap this up, or?
Me and Abel wanted to talk about microtransactions.
Yes.
I
Okay.
think with that on
Mhm.
this channel, I'll probably write an article about it at some point. I'm going to be writing some articles, but mainly just lists. List 1 is coming out, and it will be out by the time you watch this. So
Promise?
go check out. Yeah.
You better.
It'll be the ranking of all the MCU movies. It's not my personal ranking, so don't hate me.
No, this will be the one where we did an episode of the
Yeah.
podcast on it, but that episode got corrupted. So I did a live stream like where I made a graphic of everything and tried to explain everything best. But I think that having this as well will be really nice as well. So yeah,
And there are pictures.
there are pictures.
But it's going to be called List Friday. So every Friday, which is today, the day we're recording this. So the day that we're recording this, I'm putting the article out. List Friday. Every Friday, I'm putting up a list. So check back every Friday.
That'd be pretty exciting.
I'm
yeah.
going to say you could check after 5 o'clock. So, I mean, you can check Saturday, but 5 p.m. every Friday, there's going to be a list. Next week's list will probably, I have a couple ideas, but, I mean, I'll probably tweet about it or something.
All right, but yeah, let's get into microtransactions real quick
All right.
before we wrap up.
So we were talking earlier, and Jack wanted us to talk about it. So we were talking about VC and the problem that these NBA, these sports games are, like, the reason...
Like V-Bucks.
Yeah,
and a bunch
like
of other
it's
stuff
just
to it, too.
ridiculous. Like, and I think that VC really does commit it the worst. Like,
Mhm.
they're all trying to commit it the worst, but like
Yeah.
it's like who can commit it the worst. And I
True.
think 2K has really landed it with VC. I think VC is such a hidden thing too, because like I never see what articles
Mhm.
talking about it. I never hear videos
Yeah.
talking about it. Like I
'Cause
literally never
it's
see
a
it
small market
addressed. Yeah,
because it's a very focused since it's only sport people that play
Yeah.
the game.
but like
Mhm.
but it's crazy. You can't like. People who don't work at a store, a retail store. Me and Abel
Mhm.
both work at retail stores that sell video games and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So we see this a lot. But I see probably the same kids come in, all these kids, rich kids, poor kids, upper class, middle class, everybody, literally everybody comes in every week. Not every week, but like,
Frequently
once a
enough.
month. Like these crazy times, like once a month
Yeah.
to buy $10 in VC. Like that's over a year, that's $120 every month. And some of these kids come in every week, which is like $560 a year, and are spending $10 to get these little $10 PlayStation gift cards, $10 Xbox gift cards to buy VC.
For those who
2K
For
is
those who
making-
don't know, what is a VC?
VC is virtual currency in
Okay.
NBA. Abel can tell you a little bit more about it because I don't really play those games. But it's like
Mhm.
basically the entire way to level up your character in the My Career mode to
Mhm.
get any good, to be good
And
enough
you can
to
also
even play
use
the
them
game.
to buy packs. So there's a My Team option where
Okay.
you can collect player cards of like historic legendary players with modern players, and there are different statuses of cards, and so you use that money to buy packs to improve your team, and you can use that team against other players online. And so yeah, it's very heavy on this virtual currency that they created. And so there's like My Career and My Team are kind of the two where you focus that money into, and then the other game modes try and like build up that VC. But the problem is a lot of things are obviously extremely expensive, and you have to invest a lot of time to improve on that, or you just buy VC, and that's the easier way to improve your player quicker.
And you can't literally play the campaign mode without a character that has a certain level because you'll
Yeah.
just ride the bench.
Yeah.
So if you don't play the game, if you don't play the game basically 24/7,
Yeah.
you have to buy VC
Yeah.
to play
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say that I think that this should be changed. Like
How would you change
in the
it?
industry, I would say that it should be illegal for kids to buy things. I know this is going to be a strong statement, but this would help American industry too. It should be illegal for people under the age of 18 to buy anything on a PlayStation store. Or at least these companies like PlayStation and Sony need to make more restrictions on their store to where that you have to have like an ID. You have to fill out an ID. You have to fill out an account. That makes it so that either your parent has to watch you purchase it every single time. Because what they're doing is they're allowing these kids, and I hear about it all the time. These parents come in with these kids' PS4s, and they're like, I'm selling their PS4 because they keep buying stuff without my permission.
Yeah.
They keep, doing these things.
Oh, I know about that problem.
And
yeah.
I think, honestly, the only way to combat it is to, like, Sony and Xbox and all these companies need to crack down on their like, these kids being able to purchase
Yeah,
things.
the eStore for all
Mhm.
consoles, I think,
Yeah.
are extremely susceptible to that.
Yeah.
Where like they're just able to access,
Yeah.
use a person's credit card or whatever that's
Yeah.
on file to buy virtual currency or a
Yeah.
game or DLC or whatever.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think there aren't a lot of restrictions on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if banks start doing like spam alerts
Mhm.
for those type of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's not all the time, but it is a frequent issue that's happening more and more.
Yeah.
And but that's the thing is like for an online store, it's harder to have that restriction
Mhm.
because it's like how do you verify that
Yeah.
information?
Yeah.
And I think that's more of a problem with I guess people setting that
Yeah.
store access.
Yeah.
And I think what would benefit is maybe like if there's like a passcode or something
Yeah.
on to get onto the store. I think that could be an easy solution. So kids would have to have their parent in order to put in, whatever code to access the store. I think that would be a better means to do that because then you couldn't tell your kid what the code is, obviously.
I
And then-
agree.
yeah.
I 100% agree.
Mhm.
All right. Calling all Christian moms. You need to stop putting your credit card on your PlayStation for your kid. They're going to buy crap all the time, and then you're going to have to sell their PlayStation, and they're going to cry in front of me at GameStop, and it's horrible. Stop putting your credit card information on your accounts. It's terrible. I hate it. All right.
Is that
That's
all
all
you
I got to say.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, with that in mind, then, I think I'm going to wrap things up for today's episode of the Screenmen Society Podcast. Thank you for everyone for listening. I think this was a really interesting episode. We actually tackled a lot of different topics.
Some good memes.
Some good memes.
Some good
comments,
laughs.
Some really good laughs. And again, this was our first one with an actual camera. So this will be an actual video podcast that goes up on YouTube. But then you'll also still have the audio one that goes up on Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud like we have been doing. So we'll see how it works with this one. If it works, awesome. We'll keep doing it. If not, it's no biggie. But
Can't wait to see all the gestures that we did because like
Yeah.
we're so focused on just talking within ourselves that
Yeah.
we do things
Mhm.
and then we're like you'll just forget that a camera's there.
I literally
That's true.
didn't think about it like 95%
Yeah.
of the time. And I'm looking
you
right
would
at it.
you would look at me and you'd be like like all those small
I did-
interactions.
I always do I always give
Yeah.
like Kevin and all you guys really weird looks during the podcast, and so now they're gonna see me just do like I like usually flip Kevin off during the podcast. I
Right.
can't do that anymore.
Yeah, no.
no, you sure can.
Jake, like,
You sure can't. I'm going to keep it family friendly. But yeah, do check out our video that we did, Man on the Streetwise. That'll be up on our Screaming YouTube channel by the time that this podcast is out. Check out my video on my channel.
check out List Friday.
Check out List Friday. That's right. Abel, do you have anything that you want to plug?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I'm gonna work on probably more articles. I think there aren't big movies coming up. It is a big one coming up. Chapter
and
2.
Ready or Not, I've heard is actually really good as well. So
Mhm.
we may do a video review for that as well. So be on the lookout for that in the next week or so. But yeah, I think with that, that's going to be it all for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching and or listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.